Hey everybody, it's Midwest Comic Man with another in the series of great artists. I'm no longer going to call it the Golden Age greats because I am planning on doing some that are not Golden Age artists, but the one for today is another Golden Age artist. His name is Creig Flessel. In my opinion, he's a very underrated artist. He was in at the ground floor of DC Books. He did early covers for Detective, All American, More Fun, and to me his style is very distinct, very realistic. He was born on February 2nd, 1912 in Long Island, and starting in 1937 through 1942, that was probably his most prolific stage. He worked for several of the earliest comic publishers such as Chesler, Centaur, DC. In his later life, he taught illustration at the School of Visual Arts in New York City, and we lost him at the age of 96 on July 17, 2008. This time I'm going to start with the big daddy if you collect Flessel, or if you collect Golden Age keys, and that would be Adventure Comics number 40. The argued first appearance of the Sandman. The other candidate is New York World's Fair 1939 comic. You got Sandman coming through a window. He looks quite dapper in his suit and fedora. Villain clutching his throat after a shot from the gas gun. One of Flessel's strengths was adventure scenes, as you'll see, but it translated well to Sandman. And this is one of the classic images of the character. I think it's just a great cover. Next up, we have Adventure Comics 37. As I mentioned, he did great adventure scenes, and this is a sterling example. Flessel for me has always been about clean lines, and they're definitely in evidence here. You got an African explorer with his assistant on a boat, and they're being attacked by some hippos. The attention to the detail is stunning, from the pith helmet the guy's wearing to the revolver, even the inside of the mouth of the hippo. This is classic Flessel right here. This next one we're going to do is More Fun number 37. And this is a more amusing image from Flessel, but still very detailed. Kid thought he was clear for a touchdown, but Fido chased him down, took a chunk of his pants off in the process. And you can see how much he's able to convey with facial expressions. The kid's got a mix of surprise and terror on his face. And it's just really well done. Nice, lighthearted, amusing cover. Next is Detective Comics 17. Flessel did several covers illuminated by the glow of a lantern or some other object, and to me they're instantly recognizable as one of his. He has a distinct way of showing the light lines and the shadows, and like in this one, the almost molten look to the rocks in the cave. This is from his early detective run, and it's got a well-dressed man over a treasure in a cave, revolver at the ready. We see the shadow of a ghoulish ne'er-do-well. Is the man in the suit a criminal? Good guy? We may never know, because sometimes the cover had nothing to do with what was inside the book. Next up is Adventure Comics 15, and what an adventure these kids are on. This to me screams the 1930s, or at least the image in my head from various books, movies, and such that have influenced my impression, because obviously I wasn't alive then. Movies like A Christmas Story. I can just imagine the three kids building their own raft, going on some grand adventure 200 yards from their house. To me, this is a slice of life scene like you would get from Norman Rockwell or something like that. It's just a really well done cover. Adventure Comics 24. This is another classic adventure scene. I picked this one because there is absolutely no wasted space in this one. There's no scrimping on any part of the image. Every single part of it is detailed, from the trees to the clothes down to the canoe. Everything about this image is awesome. It just looks amazing. Next up is Adventure Comics 29. Another amazingly detailed adventure scene full of action. You feel like the soldier fought to the last shot of his rifle. He's retreating up the stairs as the enemy moves in. He's fighting his last stand. But he's not going to go easy. and he hurls one of the enemies still kicking into his comrades as he's dropping his sword. I mean, this guy's going to fight to the end. Next up is Detective Comics 4. You got a police detective looking through a shattered window. I suspect it was shattered by a shot he just fired, as pieces of glass are still falling. Determined look on the detective's face tells me he's trying to determine if he hit his target on the other side of the window. Flessel did almost every detective cover before some guy with a cape showed up, and the pre-Batman covers are all amazing. Next we have Detective 8. This is another one of his covers lit by a glow from, in this case, a box full of jewelry. Makes me think of the Ark of the Covenant from Indiana Jones or Marcellus's case in Pulp Fiction. The level of detail with light and shadow on a man's face is amazing. Flessel had a real strong grasp of anatomy, and his characters generally look extremely realistic, and this one was just very well done with the light and shadow. And then finally we have my favorite Flessel cover of all time, and that's Detective 15. I mean, to me, everything about this cover is perfect. You got a dapper jewel thief caught in the act. He's running with jewels in his hand. He's wearing his top hat and scarf, the flower in the lapel of his coat. I mean, the way he did the shading on his face. You got the reflection of the police officers bursting through the door with guns drawn in the mirror. I mean, how can you go wrong with this cover? It's one of the best Golden Age covers ever, in my opinion.
So thanks for watching, everybody, on this Redux of episode 3. Make sure you watch Tuesday nights, Golden Guys, and Comic Core content throughout the week. This is Midwest Comic Man. See you in the funny pages.